We're often told there's a single straight path to success, a kind of formula, right? But what if I told you that the most successful, most fulfilled people are the ones who completely ignore that formula? Today, we're diving into what's called the dark horse path to success. And to get us started, I want you to just think about this one sentence. It's safe to say nobody saw Jenny coming. So, who is this Jenny? Well, Jenny McCormick was a high school dropout. By 15, her job was cleaning horse stables. But get this, using a homemade telescope that she literally pieced together on her patio, she discovered a new planet 15,000 light years away. She became the first amateur to do that since 1781. Pretty incredible. And here's the thing, she's not alone. Let's talk about Alan Rouleau. He went from being a bartender in a small mill town to becoming one of the absolute top bespoke tailors in the entire country, designing for CEOs, celebrities, you name it. These aren't just one-off flukes. They are what we call dark horses. So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? How on earth do people who seem to break all the rules find not just success, but real, deep, personal fulfillment along the way? Well, to understand the dark horse, we first have to understand the path they don't take. It's governed by this unspoken social contract, often called the standardization covenant. And the deal is pretty simple. You abandon what makes you personally fulfilled, you pursue what society calls standardized excellence, and in return, society will reward you. In this path, this should look incredibly familiar to all of us, right? Get good grades, get the degree, climb the ladder, and then boom. Success. It's the straight line we're all taught to follow. But the key word here is supposed to. So where did this whole system even come from? Well, it wasn't designed for you to be you. It was built for the industrial age. The goal was to create interchangeable parts for a giant factory-like economy. In that kind of system, your individuality, your uniqueness, that's not an asset. It's a problem that needs to be smoothed out. So, does it work? Is this system effective? Well, the data tells a pretty sobering story. A Gallup study found that the longer students stay in this standardized system, the more disengaged they become. It goes from about a quarter of fifth graders to a staggering 2/3 of high school seniors. The very system designed to build motivation seems to be crushing it. And this is where everything gets turned on its head. We always assume that for people like Jenny and Alan, their pursuit of excellence eventually led to fulfillment. But for them, the truth is the exact opposite. It was their pursuit of fulfillment that led them to excellence. Let that sink in for a second. The entire conventional formula has it completely backward. Fulfillment isn't some prize you get at the very end for being excellent. No, it's the engine. It's the fuel that creates excellence in the first place. That right there is the secret of every single dark horse. Okay, so if fulfillment is the engine, how do you actually turn it on? Well, it comes down to a whole different way of thinking, the dark horse mindset. And it's a framework built on 3 key ideas, starting with the first one. First, you have to know your micro motives. Now, these aren't some broad, vague passions like, I like science. They're your unique, super specific drivers, the little things that genuinely light you up. For Jenny, it wasn't just astronomy. It was the specific feeling of awe she got from gazing at the stars from the wet grass. For Alan, it was that weirdly specific joy he found in combining mathematical precision with artistry. It's about what actually engages you. Second, you have to know your choices. And there is a massive difference between picking and choosing. Picking is passive. It's just selecting from a menu that someone else created, like a list of college majors. Choosing, on the other hand, is active. It's about creating your own opportunities based on what you know about your micromotives. Dark horses don't just pick from the menu, they figure out how to cook their own meal. And finally, know your strategies. The standardized world loves this idea of a one best way, but dark horses, they find their own way. Jenny, for example, couldn't do the really advanced math for a traditional astronomy degree, so she built a strategy around her actual strengths, her incredible patience, her technical skill with equipment, and her methodical observation. It's about finding a path that fits you, not forcing yourself to fit some pre-made path. So at the end of the day, we're left with 2 totally different deals. The standardization covenant is basically a zero-sum game. There are a fixed number of slots, one ladder to climb, and fulfillment is something you might get at the end, if you're lucky. But the dark horse covenant, that opens up a whole new world, A world where everyone, and I mean everyone, has the potential to find their own unique brand of excellence precisely because they're chasing what truly fulfills them. And that really leaves us with one final, powerful question to think about for our own lives. What if fulfillment isn't the prize you get way down the road at the finish line? What if it's the high octane fuel that gets you started in the first place?